Good morning, Boker Tov. It should be a good morning. Amir Tzashem Ashir Besoros Tova should be a good day filled with good news for Am Yisrael. 10 minutes of meaning is generously sponsored by Shmuel and Esther Shayowitz in honor of their parents and children. Incredibly grateful for their generosity. We're on the 26th chapter of Mesillas Yesharim, as I've been saying, the home stretch, the Midah of Kedusha, the final Midah of sanctity and of holiness. We last left off, and the Ramchal, Rav Moshe Chaim Luzzatto, has been helping us chart a course towards a better and better version of ourselves, was talking about the difference between Tahara and Kedusha, the difference between living with purity and living with holiness. So now he defines what's Kedusha. Acha Kadosh, Hadavik Tamid Le'elokav, V'nafsho Misaleches Bein Amuskalos Amitios Bi'avas Boro V'yiraso. One who attains this level of holiness, again, we live not for happiness. Our life is not defined by what gives us joy or pleasure or happiness. We live not for happiness, we live for holiness. And what does it mean to live with holiness? It's to be Davik Tamid Le'elokav. Davik, Meshech Chochmah of Meir Simcha says, Davik comes Milashon Devek, glue. We glue ourselves to Hashem. We attach ourselves to Hashem. Whatever we're going through, however we go through our day, whatever's happening to us or whatever we make happen, it's all with Devek. We have glued ourselves, we attach ourselves to Hashem. Hadavik Tamid, to glue ourselves regularly, consistently, constantly to Hashem. V'nafsho misaleches, and a person's soul that walks in thought regarding those matters that are of a high transcendent nature. Amitios bi'avas bora v'yiraso, to love Hashem and to have awe of Him. Life is not just geschmack to be a yid, to be Kedusha, to live a life of Kedusha, to be a Kadosh, is not just the happy times, the good times to fabreng with Hashem. V'yiraso, it's also to feel the awesomeness, a sense of awe, that we are accountable, that there are consequences, that He has expectations of us. Such a person is considered as if you're walking before Hashem in the Eretz HaChaim, Odenu po ba'olam hazeh. To live a life of Kedusha, to be a Kadosh, is to be so connected, so attached, so aware, so mindful, so conscious of Hashem throughout the day, that you may physically be in this world, but Keilu, a person is already living in another world, in another dimension, in another space. If you've been zocha, if you've merited to know such a holy person. We have holy tzaddikim and tzidkanios, gedolim that the world knows are kadosh, and then there are private people, seemingly ordinary people who really are kadosh. And you interact and you spend time with them and you say to yourself, we're occupying the same globe, the same earth, we live in the same world, but we're living in two different worlds. Their consciousness, their connection, their perspective, we're living in two different worlds. That's what it means to be a kadosh, is that person is not riding the wave and the rhythm of the here and now. Person is not distracted or tempted by this world, by the physical, by the material. To be a kadosh is to be so connected, so attached, to experience and interpret everything that happens in this world. It's all coming from Hashem. Now the truth is, nafsho misaleches bein hamuskalos amitios bi'avas bora v'yiraso. Ramchal used this language, that the soul is in thought regarding those matters. You're in this world in that way. The Mashkiach Rav Dan Segel in his commentary, Mesillas Yesharim, says in that way, Madregazu yoser mi malach, hamalach ein lo chelek hachomri. In this way, when a human being can live, there's a reason the Ramchal has this as the final midah. Rav Pinchas ben Yair had this as the final character trait of this complicated formula. It's really hard. It's really tough. It's really aspirational. When a person lives at that level, you're greater than an angel, you're greater than a malach. Because the malach doesn't have a physical being and a physical body. The malach isn't living in a world of temptation or desire. The malach is programmed as an extension of HaKadosh Baruch Hu. But a human being, a basar v'dam, who's made up of both a soul and a body, who's part of the here and now of this world, of the physical material world, but also as a chelek elokah mimal mamish, also as a tzelem elokim, to be able to have that tzelem elokim so define us, so overwhelm, so live without being distracted by the guf. Such a person is greater, is higher than even a malach, because a malach doesn't know what that means. A malach doesn't know what that means. I visited someone this week, a very special person. Nebuch is suffering and struggling with ALS, a horrific, horrific disease, and is paralyzed in his entire body with the exception of the movement of his eyes. Paralyzed entirely, has a trach, a feeding tube. The only thing entirely mentally, emotionally, spiritually healthy, aware, and present, but only can communicate through the movement of his eyes and technology, thank God, writing and publishing a Dvar Torah. Unbelievable. Like Yitzi Hurwitz in California, somebody else, a very holy, special person locally who has that. And after the visit, I thought to myself, I just spent time with a malach. A malach. He doesn't eat. He doesn't go through the physical temptations, desires, distractions, tensions that human beings do. He's a malach. He's a pure neshama. The guf has broken down. The guf has failed. The guf is being sustained by others. Such a person is as if a malach. And the more physically debilitated he's become, the more spiritual, his family said, he's become. Spending most of the day learning. And through his eye movement, painstakingly writing this Dvar Torah. It's exceptional. It's extraordinary. He's a special person. His family are incredibly special people. But it's an interaction with a malach. There's no guf. So, says Rav Dan Segel, such an individual, a kadosh, is higher than a malach. Because a malach doesn't have bechira, a malach doesn't have free will, a malach isn't tempted. Ish kazeh, writes the Ramchal, hu atzmo nechshav kamishkan. Such a person has lived the level that they have transformed their lives into being a mishkan. What's a mishkan? The root of the word mishkan is shachein, shechina. The root of the word shechina, shachein, is to be a neighbor with Hashem, is to give housing to Hashem, is to give a platform and a presence, and to be a conduit, a vehicle for Hashem. Kamikdash v'chamizbeach. K'ma'amar m'zichron levracha. The Medrash Bereshit Rabbah says, "Vayal me'alav Elokim ha'avos hein merkava." The avos achieved and reached this level. The avos were the chariot through which Hashem traverses the world, through which Hashem is accessible and exposed, revealed to the world. The avos reached that level, so everything about them conformed with Hashem's will. They so lived with the awareness, the presence of being on a mission, of being accountable to Hashem. So they became the Merkava, they became the chariot of Hashem. And that's what we can be, that's what we can aspire. With healthy bodies, please God. To be able to, with our healthy body and through the body, the free will that we have, nevertheless be so defined by our soul and aspire to be a kadosh, to not live for happiness, to live for holiness, to be able to get to that level that we are ish kazeh is kamishkan. It says Rav Dan Segel, lo haneshama ela haguf nechshav kamishkan. What's the mishkan? The soul? No, the guf, the body. So that each human, each material, physical thing that we do, when we do it in the context of being here to serve Hashem, of being people of Kedusha, then we turn the guf, the body itself is turned into the Mishkan. That's the pshat in the parsha. We mentioned yesterday in the parsha Shir. The end of this week's parsha, Mishpatim, after Nasa v'Nishma, after Moshe, Aaron, the Zakenim entered this bris with the Kodesh Baruch Hu, Vayechazu es ha'elokim, they saw, they perceived Hashem, Vayochlu vayoshtu, and what do? After an incredible spiritual high? Kiddush. Let's eat. That's a spiritual high. We spoke about yesterday. Yeah, if you could turn the guf into a mishkan, after Vayechazu es ha'elokim, after you become a kadosh, Vayochlu vayishtu. It's not the eating and drinking of fressing, hungry, ordinary human beings who just want to stuff their face. When a person's a kadosh, they're eating in a way that they're actually connecting to Hashem, who's the source of life, who designed us that we need to eat to live. So the eating is not a mundane, profane, secular animal activity. The eating itself is transformed to a holy activity. You have the Kal of Arov coming to Shabbos, of a Tish Friday night. In Chassidus, the notion, the doctrine of eating the shirayim of the Rebbe is that the Rebbe ate the food in a different way. So that food is not ordinary food. That food contains the sparks of someone who turned their guf into a mishkan. And then if we eat it, hopefully it has a good impact on us too. Hopefully it can rub off on us as well. That's the idea. That's the whole notion. So whether you subscribe to that or not, in this chapter of Midas HaKedusha, the Ramchal is challenging us. We don't have to live for happiness. We can live for holiness. Our day could be informed and inspired by this awareness. Hashem, what does He want from me? What does He expect from me? How am I grateful? What do I owe? How am I obligated? What are my responsibilities? What are my duties? How do I experience this entire world? And when I do, we transform not the neshama into the Mishkan. Our guf becomes a Mishkan and a Merkava for Hashem in this world. 15 minutes living with Emunah. We'll pick up Mirz Hashem next week. No Kaddish? No Kaddish. So used to Kaddish.